The Doctor of Discernment is on the air.
I love the Greg Belfrage Show.
I've been listening to you for years, Greg. Thanks for all you do and keeping us.
Good morning. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show. It's great to have you along. Almost forgot to hit the start, but here we go. Thanks for being here.
Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I don't believe in the no-win scenario.
This is the Greg Belfrage Show.
Good morning, my friend. The marketplace of ideas is open. Welcome to the Greg Belfrage Show on Thursday, October 17th. So we had the Kamala Harris interview with Brett Baer last night. I asked folks on Facebook, it was a big day for Fox News yesterday. You had Donald Trump doing a town hall with Harris Faulkner on her show yesterday morning. And then last evening, you had Kamala Harris and Brett Baer sitting down. And before I dive into this too much, as I'm really interested to get your reaction for those of you who saw it, we'll open up the phone lines later this morning. So I already posted the question on Facebook this morning. For those of you who follow me on Facebook, I asked for comments both on Trump's appearance yesterday and Kamala Harris and her appearance then on Fox News Channel yesterday. So there's a story at the New York Post where Brett Baer apparently he said yesterday that the Kamala Harris campaign team had whittled down the allotted time that he had with her just before the interview. They were supposed to do 30 to 35 minutes. So it was supposed to be about a 30-minute interview. And Baer said that he compared what the Harris campaign did to him. He called it icing the kicker. He said, so we were supposed to start at 5 p.m. That was the time they gave us originally. We're going to do 25 or 30 minutes, he said. They came in and said, well, maybe 20 minutes. So it was already getting whittled down, he said. And then the vice president showed up late at about 5:15 p.m. And he said, Baer said that her tardiness made it a challenge then for the television production team to get the interview ready for the start of his show at, again, we're talking about Eastern times here. So the show starts at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And Baer said, we were pushing the envelope. So that's how it started. And I could tell when we started talking that she was going to be tough to, redirect without me trying to interrupt, he said. And after the interview, he said he had hoped to ask more questions, but several Harris campaign staffers were frantically signaling to him off camera to end the interview because his time was up. And he said, I'm talking like 4 people waving their hands. It's got to stop, he said. I had to dismount there at the end. So this is what Brett Baer is saying. He said he believes that Harris came into the interview with the goal of cramming in her talking points regardless of the question asked. We see this all the time. We see this all the time. A question gets asked and they absolutely ignore it and they just go right to their talking points. Just absolutely incredible. And Baer said, normally you can kind of get in on the breath, he said. Sometimes there's an effort to filibuster to create a moment, and I think that was their goal coming in. Because honestly, they need it. Kamala Harris needs that. So let's take a look at what happened during the interview. I'll come back to Fox News, but let's look elsewhere. Washington Examiner. Headline, Harris sits down for combative interview with Fox News. So the 25-minute sit down with Brett Baer was contentious from start to finish. In what amounted to one of the first times the vice president has given an interview on an adversarial network. The interview was dominated by immigration, with Harris repeatedly sidestepping questions. This is what you just heard me sharing from Brett Baer, that she was just going to get to her talking points and sidestep questions and say what she wants to say, which is what? Which is, there is, you know what she reminds me of? If you've ever read Isaac Asimov's Foundation, the Foundation series, the Foundation trilogy, if you've ever read that, it boils down to where there's this lengthy, folks, and these are political officials, right? Political officials, and they speak at length, for like, hours on an issue. And then Isaac Asimov says, okay, scientists have come in and now they've taken a look at this. And when you look at the entirety of what they actually said, what it amounts to, they promised nothing. No, they absolutely said nothing. And I think it's kind of that way with Kamala Harris. I mean, it's pretty crazy. So Brett Baer, God love him, he was trying to get to substantive issues, and she was repeatedly sidestepping questions. That's the Washington Examiner. Repeatedly sidestep questions as to how many illegal immigrants she estimates the Biden administration has released into the country. And at one point, Harris said, "You have to let me finish." At another point, Baer asked Harris, and again, it was, she was talking about immigration proposals that Biden had put forward during his time in office. At another point, Baer asked Harris whether she and Biden owed the families of Rachel Morin, Jocelyn Nungare, and Laken Riley. These are three women that were allegedly killed by illegal immigrants. Did she owe them an apology for their policies? And Harris didn't offer an apology. She just said, "I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced." So she acknowledged the family's loss. She did not respond to a question about when she recognized the border situation was a crisis. So she skirted right by that one. And she just talked about the broken immigration system and blamed it all on Donald Trump. What else is new? It's all Donald Trump's fault. That's what she said. The Trump administration, even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear. But again, the point that Brett Baer was trying to make, you've been there for 3.5 years. You had Democrats not only in the White House, you had Democrats for a period of time, Democrats in both the House and the Senate. Why didn't you do something? I mean, that question is just obvious. And she just skirted around it. I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president. I will follow the law. That was her. In fact, Vivek Ramaswamy was on with Jesse Waters then after this last night, and that was her big phrase. I will follow the law. And Vivek Ramaswamy, points out, yeah, but if you win, you're the president of the United States. You can impact the law. You can make the law. You can, I will follow the law. What does that mean? Nothing. That's what it boils down to. It doesn't mean anything. There's another piece at the Washington Examiner. Joy, and we're talking about, happiness, joy. Joy eludes Harris in her high-stakes Fox interview. And she told Brett Baer, "Let me be clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency." So she said that very strongly. But at the same time, she was asked again, and the about, is there anything you would change? Because then I thought that was just absolutely incredible when Stephen Colbert sets her up because she had muffed the question earlier last week. So Stephen Colbert sets her up, what would you change of the Biden, or excuse me, she was asked it on The View. And then he even set her up again on his show after that disastrous interview on The View. And she muffed it again. But she said, I can't think of a thing. I can't think of a thing that I would change. Oh, okay, let's go over to the Hill. 5 takeaways from a contentious Kamala Harris Brett Baier interview. So it was contentious. What are their takeaways? Harris faces her toughest interview so far, which I expected because I mentioned this to you earlier this week. I have a lot of respect for Brett Baier. And he really stood as I think he was solid. Her, not so much. Baier asked Harris what she made of such a large contingent of Americans expressing support for Trump. And he said, so it's, are they stupid? Oh my God, I would never say that about the American people. He's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. I just thought that question, I got another piece where with the entire question, sometimes interviewers, including me, you ask a question and sometimes you ought to just leave it there. You've asked one question, leave it there. Because I don't have his whole question in front of me, but he asked the question and then he said, are they stupid? There was a lot more to that. One of the reasons I don't like the reporting at the Hill very much. Brett Baier also put Kamala Harris on defense over immigration. They report that he pressed her on the Biden administration's decision to end the Trump era policy, the Remain in Mexico. And then he brought up the cases that I mentioned earlier, the young women killed by men who entered the country illegally. And then asked Kamala Harris if their families are owed an apology. Those are tragic cases. There's no question about that, she said. She added she was sincerely sorry for the family's losses. She talked about her time as vice president, and she is saying she's turning the page. She said, let me be very clear. My presidency would not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes into office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. So she also, they talked about transgender prisoners. Harris sidestepped questions on the president's mental acuity, because Baier asked her when she first noticed that Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished. When did you first notice that? She defended Biden by saying he has the judgment and experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people. And then she quickly added, Biden is not on the ballot, Trump is. And then it's Donald Trump who's actually unfit for office. And so Baier, he pressed this. He said, you met with him at least once a week for the past 3.5 years. You didn't have any concerns? She completely sidestepped the question, saying, I think the American people have a concern about Donald Trump. See, that's all she wants to talk about is Trump. So that, and I could go, Fox News has got, there's another piece at the Hill that they sparred over immigration right at the beginning of the interview. New York Post reporting on this. Kamala Harris deflects on the border and Iran and Biden, the decline of Joe Biden. So she deflected on all those issues, the border, Iran, and the decline of Joe Biden. New York Post says during a bad-tempered Fox News interview, they got into it a number of times. You know, that, again, Bret Baier was pushing. He was trying to ask a question. And at one point, you know, she got really short with him. And he apologized. And he said, I'm sorry, Madam Vice President. You know, let her finish her thought. And then there were other times where he did not relent. He had not asked the question that he wanted to ask yet. And she was already in, and he kept going. So they were talking over each other at times. And then Fox News has got reporting on this as well. Kamala Harris avoids questions about Biden's mental decline. Joe Biden is not on the ballot, but he's the president of the United States. And you're currently the vice president, and you're acting like you're not. I mean, this is what's just absolutely frustrating. So Baier says, you told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that he ran circles around his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished? And she paused for a moment. She said, Joe Biden, I've watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. He has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people. And Baier said there were no concerns raised. Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot, and Donald Trump is. So again, I mean, if you enjoy, if you appreciate candidates who refuse to answer questions, it's pretty incredible. Newsmax has got a piece this morning, and they made Michael Katz makes a pretty interesting observation. So in this interview, Harris said, excuse me, she was talking about Trump. She said rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of what we all know the strength of leadership is based on who you lift up, she said. But then during that interview, that's what she said. And then during the interview, she's referring to Trump, unfit, unstable, dangerous. So she's talking about, the strength of a leader is based on, not based on who you beat down. It's based on who you lift up. That's what she's trying to say. And then she turns right around and starts beating down Donald Trump. Okay, so by the Kamala Harris measure, how's she doing? The Hill's also got a story. A former Harris aide says Baier pulled interview questions from a Trump-Vance press release. Oh, they're in trouble. They are in absolute trouble. It's just crazy. So I'm curious to, we'll open up the phone lines coming up this morning after 7, and I would love to get your reaction. I already asked the question this morning on Facebook. For those of you who follow me on Facebook, And seeing some great comments there already this morning. Also today, I think we've got to talk about what's going on with this Nevada women's volleyball team. And you had players saying that they would not play San Jose State because San Jose State has a transgender player. And this story now is it's popping up everywhere. You've got Tulsi Gabbard, Sam Brown, other people then supporting the decision by Nevada, this women's volleyball team at Nevada. And I just don't think, and I see Fox News Channel just earlier this morning highlighting this issue. There's a piece at justthenews.com this morning about what's going on in the state of Minnesota, which is why this caught my eye. And female athletes are challenging trans activists at the Minnesota State Supreme Court. And in this case, it's a women's competition in weightlifting and trying to, I think USA Powerlifting has said that males are significantly stronger than females, and we're just, well, that's now become a case in front of the Minnesota State Supreme Court. And so we'll touch on that also coming up this morning. That's a look at the big stories this morning. Thanks for starting your day with the Greg Belfrage Show. Currently clear at 49. This hour of our program brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
And Robbins, weekdays at 2. Callow, News Talk 1320.
Okay, I ran long there.
The Kelly Hotline is brought to you by Tires. See in-store details about how to get rebates from major tire manufacturers. 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
She's got soul. Vocal powerhouse Capathia Jenkins joins the South Dakota Symphony to celebrate Whitney Houston, Adele, Chaka Khan, and others. Visit sdsymphony.org for your tickets or call 605-731-2440. This Saturday at 7:30 at the Washington Pavilion. She's got soul with Capathia Jenkins and the South Dakota Symphony.
In today's fast-paced world, building strong business relationships is key. It's about forging connections built on trust, innovation, and a passion for excellence. At Lawrence & Schiller, we're about pushing boundaries, problem-solving, outthinking and outdoing the competition, and driving positive business outcomes. If you're tired of settling for subpar results, get to know us at l-s.com, where every problem has a solution and every result is extraordinary.
Mostly sunny skies today. Our high temperature 76 degrees with a strong south wind at 20 to 40. We do have a red flag warning in effect for extreme fire danger. Forecast tonight, low at 55 with a south wind 20 to 35. Tomorrow, more wind from the south with a high of 78. A little scattered rain into Saturday. From the storm.
And in Sioux Falls at 6:30, clear skies and 49 currently at Kello. Joe Bowman is in the Kello.com News Center. Coming up, a high school substitute teacher in Minnesota is in big trouble. Also, Rick Weiland says the campaign against initiated Measure 28 based more on fear than on fact, he says. Also, South Dakota's most recent graduating class scored higher than the national ACT average this year. Joe will have details on those stories and more coming up for you in moments here at Kello.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Vice President Harris, in her first interview on Fox News Channel with special report anchor Fred Fair, says she will support and enforce federal law on immigration.
So decriminalizing border crossings, like you said in 2019.
I do not believe in decriminalizing border crossings, and I've not done that as vice president. I will not do that as president.
Former President Trump with Latino voters at a town hall event on Univision.
Do you believe that claim? I'm just curious. Do you believe that when she says that?
Of illegal alien gang members and migrant criminals from prisons and jails and insane asylums.
Polls show him catching up with Latino voters. One Direction singer Liam Payne died, 31 years old, falling from a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires, Argentina. You say he jumped. They responded to a call from the hotel about someone acting aggressively. America's listening to Fox News.
News brought to you by Sioux Falls Implant and Sedation Dentistry. They fix your teeth while you sleep.
Kello News Time 6:31. I'm Joe Bowman in the Kello.com News Center. Over in Woodbury, Minnesota, a high school substitute teacher is facing allegations for reenacting the police restraint used in the murder of George Floyd during a class. The sub also involved a student in the demonstration. The principal reported multiple inappropriate actions, including making racially harmful comments and discussing graphic details from his law enforcement career. The substitute teacher, identified as Steve Williams, has been placed on administrative leave. He says it's a campaign based more on fear than on fact. That's how Rick Weiland describes the campaign against Initiated Measure 28, which would repeal the state sales tax on consumable items. It started off as a repeal on the state sales tax on food, but the measure's final language has created concern about it being much broader than that. He also says claims that municipalities will no longer be able to collect the tax are not true.
It's really unfortunate they've convinced even a lot of city governments they're going to lose out on being able to collect this tax, and I think that has sent shockwaves through these city councils.
Many experts are saying there's quite a bit of money at stake should the measure pass. Depending on the interpretation of the measure's language, the negative impact to the state ranges between about $124 million up to $640 million. South Dakota's most recent graduating class has scored above the national ACT average. Out of a possible 36 points, the class of 2024 had an average score of 21.1, well above the national average of 19.4. Secretary of Education Joe Graves says the numbers indicate South Dakota schools are doing a solid job preparing students. In women's volleyball, the Coyotes face off against Kansas City tonight. South Dakota is now 11-5. And the Jackrabbits are in Fargo tonight playing against North Dakota State. South Dakota State is 16-0 and are the last remaining undefeated women's volleyball team in the country this season. From the Kello.com News Center, I'm Joe Bowman.
The news never stops. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
A windy day and a warmer day for the Sioux Falls area. Our high temperature 76 with a south wind at 20 to 40 miles per hour. That south wind continues tonight, low at 55. Tomorrow's high, 78. A couple of showers developing west of Sioux Falls. 20% chance of rain Saturday. From the Storm Center and Kettleland TV, I'm Brian Karstens.
Your source for the latest news all day, every day. Wake up with us and check back all day long. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
Thieves taking down an opponent's campaign sign during an election is all too common. Finding out who did it is another story. Until now. I'm Kim Commando for Simply Safe. Visit simplysafekim.com to save 50% on a new system. There's no safe like Simply Safe. Stealing candidates' election signs can bring real trouble. In North Carolina this week, a former Democratic Party official was arrested and charged with ripping up almost 100 roadside Trump for President signs. In this case, sheriff deputies caught him in the act. Finding a stolen campaign sign has suddenly become quite easy. Tens of thousands of political signs for all kinds of candidates are quietly being loaded with an Apple AirTag. Small, inexpensive, and hard to see if you're not looking for them. AirTags are leading the crowd to the backyards and garages of hundreds of political troublemakers. With this very tight election now less than 3 weeks away, there are better and safer ways to help your favorite candidate. Enter to win a brand new iPhone 16 Pro with Apple Intelligence at winfromkim.com. When it comes to protecting your home and family, it's always better to stop trouble before it even has a chance to start. That's why Simply Safe is changing the game with their new LiveGuard outdoor protection. It offers a double layer of defense, cutting-edge AI plus real-time monitoring by Simply Safe's live security agents to keep intruders out and prevent crime before it happens. If someone suspicious steps onto your property, Simply Safe agents are on it immediately. They'll see and talk to the intruder, set off sirens, and flash spotlights to scare them away, and even call the police if needed to get you help fast. Other systems only react after a break-in. SimpliSafe combines live monitoring, proactive protection, both outside and inside your home. And right now, you can save 50% on a new SimpliSafe system with a select professional monitoring plan. Visit simplysafekim.com to grab your 50% off today. That's simplysafekim.com. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
The Kim Commando Show, live Saturday mornings at 9. Kello News Talk 1320 107.9.
The Kello Hotline is brought to you by Tires, your Give You More tire and automotive store. Financing programs available, 2 Sioux Falls locations to serve you.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated in the best hearing aids of 2024 by USA Today, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices. Just $189.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 500,000 happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Football season is here. Do you have your picks in on Sleeper? Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and you can win up to 100 times your money. For new users, Sleeper will even match your first deposit with up to $100 credit to your account. Just download the Sleeper app today and use code MONDAY for a credit up to $100 match on your first deposit. That's code MONDAY. Must be 18 years in most states and in state where it is legal. Promo code and other restrictions apply. Visit sleeper.com. Please wager responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-426-2537 for help. Sponsored by Sleeper, a Blitz product.
Bring charm from the outdoors into your home with Renewal by Andersen picture and combination windows. Optimizing a beautiful view and light in a bedroom, kitchen, or living room from ABC Seamless of Sioux Falls. Call 605-646-2667 today.
That's ABC Seamless.
Now, the big wireless companies want to limit you to 2 choices when it comes to data, unlimited or unlimited. And guess what? Both are stupidly expensive. Now stop overpaying for data that you're never, ever going to use. That's like paying for a pot of coffee when all you need is a cup, or filling your entire truck bed full of gas when you only need a tank. Now, with Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you get to choose how much data that you actually want and need. And for example, for $25 a month, you'll get unlimited talk and text, 5 gigs of data, which is more than enough, and they'll include mobile hotspot and roaming in 50-plus countries. Stop overpaying for wireless. Get America's best 5G coverage with Pure Talk. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword SAVE NOW, and do it now. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. The switch is simple, fast, and easy. No contract to sign, no activation fee, and you keep your phone and your phone number. Pound 250, keyword SAVE NOW. The same service for much less for about...
Are you looking for a place where independent living, feels like home? You'll find it at Washington Crossing. And Washington Crossing right now has a rare opening in one of their highly sought after 1-bedroom apartments. It's a beautiful unit, bright and spacious. It features tall ceilings. It's got a southern exposure, which means you'll enjoy plenty of sunlight during the winter months. And with both in-floor heat and a furnace, you'll be able to stay warm and cozy this winter. Washington Crossing believes in offering premier independent living at a great value, and that's exactly what they do. The residents also love the vibrant community, the convenience of maintenance-free living, and the peace of mind with knowing that you're in a place that's designed for your comfort and care. So take a look today. Go schedule a free private tour. I mean, they would be happy to show you around. And you'll understand why so many people are choosing Washington Crossing. Call them today, 605-271-9273. That's 605-271-9273. Washington Crossing, premier independent living at a great value.
Belfrage, please join Community Blood Bank and Outback Steakhouse Friday, October 18th from 11 to 4. Blood donors receive a free steak meal certificate, a special t-shirt, and a logoed flashlight. Walk-ins are welcome, but those with appointments receive priority. You can schedule a donation by calling 605-331-3222. Help Kello beef up the blood supply Friday, October 18th, 11 to 4 at Outback.
20 minutes before 7. Clear and 49 currently at Kello. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
What's trending now?
Add them on Facebook.
Let the tweeting begin. The hashtag does that. News and views from Belf's News Gallery.
This is a big story this morning. The FBI, in September of 2023, the FBI reported that the nation's violent crime rate fell by 2.1%. But now the FBI has quietly revised those numbers, and they're releasing new data that shows violent crime in 2022 increased by 4.5%. And this is a story coming from Real Clear Politics. That's a great website. If you know that or you don't know about that website, take a look. Real Clear Politics. It's becoming one that I'm at more and more. So the FBI's 2023 crime data news release did not mention that the violent crime rate was adjusted in 2022 after the initial data was released. So you release the initial data, and then later you revise that, but you don't mention it. You don't say anything about it. So this is one of the reasons why I'm really skeptical when it comes to any of these government figures, because you have that kind of stuff that's going on. The FBI revising numbers and then not saying, oh, we made a mistake. Here's what the actual numbers are. Crime actually was up. And I think, the feeling of what's going on with crime, Americans have a pretty good sense of what's going on in their communities. And I just don't think a lot of these government numbers, the media makes a big deal of them. I just do not trust them myself. And this is why. And that's exactly why. The FBI revising data, not telling anybody, doing it very quietly. Also, among other stories trending this morning, a former member of One Direction, Liam Payne, is dead at the age of 31. Apparently, he took a fall from a hotel in Argentina, according to reports. The authorities there say he had fallen around 40 meters, suffered severe injuries, which killed him. It was too severe. So he fell from the third floor of his hotel room in Argentina, according to state police. Also trending this morning, the Federal Trade Commission, and I thought this might be one that you would really appreciate because it would impact many of us. Federal Trade Commission announced a final rule that would require retailers to make canceling a subscription just as easy as it was to sign up for it. It's called the click to cancel rule. It was announced yesterday, and it applies to subscription services and memberships. So it was developed after public comment. It's expected to go into effect 180 days after it's published in the Federal Register. And the chairwoman of the FTC said too often businesses make people jump through endless hoops just to cancel a subscription. You ever been there? It's frustrating. It's frustrating. The FTC's rule, they say, will end these tricks and traps, saving Americans time and money. Nobody should be stuck paying for a service that they no longer want. Also, the former owner of a distressed dog that was found tied to a fence near a freeway. This was as Hurricane Milton then was heading toward Florida. The Owner says he left the bull terrier as he was evacuating the state. And he's been charged with aggravated animal cruelty, according to the state attorney. He told investigators that he was driving to Georgia to escape the storm, but left his dog, Jumbo. You seen the photos of this dog? Looks like a great dog. He left Jumbo on the side of the road because he couldn't find anyone to pick the dog up. And so now he's facing charges as a result of that. Also, the Nebraska Supreme Court has found that former felons are eligible to vote. They released their decision yesterday involving a case in Nebraska. The plaintiffs, represented by the ACLU, alleged that the Secretary of State had his refusal to allow felons who had served their sentence and parole. So again, we're talking about felons who are not incarcerated. We're talking about felons who have completed their sentence, and if parole is a part of it, completed that as well. So they're done. They've served their obligation to Nebraska. Should they be able to vote? The Nebraska Supreme Court says, yes, they should. They should be able to vote. And so the court then issued an order to the Secretary of State and a pair of county election commissioners to accept voter registration applications from former felons. Also, Walt Disney World and Disneyland will soon make skipping the line easier for a limited few that are willing to pay a pretty hefty sum for the privilege. They unveiled a Lightning Lane Premier Pass alongside the current Lightning Lane Multi-Pass and Single Pass. What it means is it's akin, these are passes for line jumping then at some rival theme parks. So now Disney's new offering is going to let people into Lightning Lane attractions without having to book ahead. But it will not come cheap. Also trending this morning, Liz Cheney. There are stories out. I've seen these the last few days. Liz Cheney communicated with an anti-Trump January 6th witness behind her lawyer's back. You seen this story? It's trending this morning. You may have seen it. So Liz Cheney, who has been an outspoken opponent of Donald Trump, communicated with the House January 6th Select Committee's star witness, Cassidy Hutchinson, but this was unknown to Hutchinson's attorney. So she, visiting with her and no representation. Also trending this morning, American leaders came together yesterday in Washington, D.C. to remember the life of Ethel Kennedy. Joe Biden was there, Barack Obama was there, Bill Clinton was there. More on Clinton in a moment. So the celebration of Ethel Kennedy's life took place at St. Matthew's Cathedral. And that's where JFK's son famously saluted the assassinated president's casket back in 1963. You remember that? The son up there saluting the casket. That was sad situation. So Ethel Kennedy died last Thursday, a week after she suffered a stroke. So Bill Clinton, this is a story from the New York Post this morning. Former President Bill Clinton stunned listeners Wednesday by claiming at the funeral of Ethel Kennedy that she would flirt with him. He said, "I thought your mother was the cat's meow. She would flirt with me in the most innocent ways," he said during his eulogy. And I don't know that the New York Post is being fair. Their headlines called it a bizarre eulogy at her funeral. He went on to say, "She was an amazing fireball of continuous energy. It was wonderful to be around her," he said. Also trending this morning, protesters are demanding that Kellogg remove artificial colors from their cereals. So dozens of people gathered outside the company's headquarters on Tuesday. They're calling for the removal of artificial dyes from cereals like Fruit Loops. And this is after the company promised they would do that by 2018. I've just checked the calendar, and yeah, we're we're past 2018. So there were hundreds of people gathering outside the Kellogg headquarters in Michigan Tuesday, calling for the company to hold up its promise to remove artificial dyes from their breakfast cereals that are sold in the U.S. Also, the Buffalo Bills have acquired Amari Cooper in a trade with the Cleveland Browns. And the Bills received Cooper and a 6th-round draft pick. So Cooper fills the number 1 receiver void for the Bills that was open when Buffalo traded Stephon Diggs to the Houston Texans before the season. Also trending this morning, archaeologists from the National Academy of Sciences of Armenia have discovered the remains of a previously unknown early Christian church. And this is Armenia's oldest church, some 2,000 years old. It's an octagonal building with cruciform extensions. And so the team excavated parts of the church and then studied it. And they're saying this is, it's pretty remarkable. The 4th century building is the oldest archaeologically documented church in the country. Sensational evidence for early Christianity in Armenia, they said. Also, the U.S. Department of Transportation is accusing a German airline of, and they fined them for alleged discrimination against their Jewish passengers. So DOT issued a $4 million fine against the carrier for prohibiting more than 100 Jewish passengers from boarding a flight more than 2 years ago. And the incident goes back to May of 2022 when they blocked 128 Jewish passengers from boarding a connecting flight in Germany after misconduct from some of the passengers on the flight. And it doesn't appear that what they were doing is they were wearing their, they were on their way to Hungary for an annual memorial event honoring an Orthodox rabbi. And they were wearing distinctive, clothing associated that Orthodox Jewish men wear, and they were not allowed to board. Also trending this morning, Fani Willis is petitioning to reinstate charges against Donald Trump. So earlier this year, the judge in the case ruled that 6 counts, including 3 specifically against Trump, weren't detailed enough about the crimes. So now she has asked the Georgia Court of Appeals to reinstate 6 charges. So that nightmare goes on. White House has approved $425 million in new aid for Ukraine. And the White House announced this yesterday, their latest package of military support for Ukraine, including $425 million worth of air defense, air-to-ground missiles, armored vehicles, and other munitions. You've seen then at the same time, you've got the administration that's all but telling Israel they're going to pull the plug on any funding for Israel unless Israel gets on board with what the administration wants in Gaza. And that's just that's a no can do if you followed that story. And then a former Las Vegas area Democrat who was sentenced to at least 28 years in a Nevada state prison for killing an investigative journalist who wrote articles critical of his conduct in office. And that's a look at the stories trending this morning in Belf's News Gallery. This hour of the Greg Belfrage Show brought to you by the Window Shop of Mitchell, offering custom windows starting at $99 a month.
And a cell phone to make your mark.
Thanks so much for letting me join you this morning. Hope you'll return for the 4th hour of the Greg Belfrage Show. That's at 9:30 every weekday. So I hope to see you then. Thanks for being here. You take care. See you again. Hope to see you again soon.
An SUV with room for the whole family. We have you covered. Stop by.